So let's go ask Alice. I had a big section on Blavatsky. A couple of the frames I included in this program here, it just wasn't working, and Alice Bailey is much more the center of attention here. Go ask Alice. In the early 20th century, a figure who would have a major impact on the New Age movement came out of the Theosophical Society. Her name was Alice Ann Bailey. Born Alice Latrobe Bateman in Manchester, England on June 16, 1880. She grew up a society girl of the British upper class, highly religious. Alice married a minister, and they moved to the United States. Her husband became physically abusive towards her. She fled with her 3 children, moving into Pacific Grove, California. There, she met 2 English women expatriates who introduced her to theosophy. And that was a major event in her life. Bailey wrote, I discovered that there is a great and divine plan. I discovered, for a second thing, that there are those who are responsible. Notice that she capitalizes those and who. Talk about pronouns, right? Responsible for the working out of a plan, and who, step by step and stage by stage, had led mankind on down the centuries. These are the Watchers, as we'll see. Alice Bailey worships the Watchers, as she makes very clear. So if you're looking for our Watcher cult, look no further. Look no further. In 1917, Alice moved to LA and began working at the Theosophical Society headquarters there. She met Foster Bailey, later married him. Alice had her first contact with Doswell Cool, the Tibetan, in November 1919. I would argue that the Tibetan was her British intelligence handler, but we'll get into that in a bit. The valuable work Alice was to do ended up lasting 30 years. Between 1919 and 1949, Alice Bailey wrote 19 books for her unseen mentor by means of telepathic communication. That's one way of looking at it, right? To occultists, Alice Bailey's writings have anticipated the appearance of a world healer and savior in the coming Aquarian age. Bailey termed him the coming one. The coming one. She uses that term a lot. The coming one, or the coming ones, the coming race, right? This person would embody all the great principles of occultism, chiefly the divinity and perfectibility of man. All right, and those ideas have caused endless atrocity throughout history, haven't they? All right, so Alice Bailey, the divine plan that she discovers, and all of a sudden she's channeling work. Kind of reminds me of J.K. Rowling, I guess, in that regard. There's no question, no reasonable question that this was all an operation, British intelligence operation. As we'll see, they don't even hide it. They don't even hide it. And just the fact that she was, these are basically vanity books. This is Vanity Press, and she had money to publish multiple copies of all these books that I don't know a single person that has read them. But now I know how to read them. I used to try to read these books, and I'm like, this is nuts. What is going on here? And I broke the code, and I realized that it's the Watchers. The Silent Watchers, the Lords of Sacrifice. Okay, the Watchers to her are martyrs. Okay, the Silent Watchers are martyrs. They're the Lords of Sacrifice, as we're going to see right now. The group of the Silent Watchers of all degrees are closely connected with the second cosmic path. All of them are Lords of Sacrifice and are animated solely by love, and all therefore have passed through the sacrificial burning grounds that we saw mentioned in the Book of Enoch, didn't we? These great redeeming angels, who are the sons of men on their own true plane, the mental, are ever, therefore, pictured as taking the form of 12-petaled lotuses. This is what, she just starts to drop in all this symbology here. The symbology linking them up with the Son of Divine Love, the manifested solar system, which is said to be a cosmic 12-petaled lotus. So what Theosophy does, and Bailey kind of perfects it, is hiding its true meanings under all this symbolism and iconography borrowed from Hinduism and Buddhism. But so, again, this is very, 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 very important to Alice Bailey. The Watchers are martyrs. The lords of sacrifice, all right? Alice Bailey and the fallen angels. Solar gods are the fallen angels. So she also calls them the solar gods, the solar angels. I mean, she uses all this different terminology. The coming ones, whatever. They warm the shadows, the human bodies. They, in their term, are warmed by the monad or atmos, or the oneness. They are the serpents of wisdom, seraphim, right? We talked about that. Their nature is knowledge and love, gnosis and agape, or maybe a gnosis and eros. They come in from the cosmic mental plane, so they are disembodied entities that take possession of human beings. The ego or solar angel is imprisoned. It has to liberate itself from the thraldom of sensuous perception. It has to see in the light of the one true reality, to redeem humanity, to endow him with human affections and aspirations. They give to men intelligence and consciousness and intelligence. So they, the fallen angels, possess human beings, basically. And this is what I'm talking about, the vessels for the Nephilim, or the Watchers. Really, you just, the Nephilim are basically just the sons of the Watchers. So it's all kind of the same thing. It's just, one step removed, right? Now, this is so incredibly important. And I can't believe for the life of me how explicit this is. This is Alice Bailey from one of her books. I think externalization of the hierarchy. It doesn't matter. It's interesting because as she went on later on, she played down a lot of the more explicit Watcher stuff and, more ambiguous kind of terminology. But this is the foundational myth of the Watcher cult that Alice Bailey is putting into very clear language here, which is unusual for her. All right, had the sons of God not come in unto the daughters of men, which is the biblical and symbolic way of expressing the great relationship between spirit and matter, which was established in the human kingdom. No, what it expresses is fucking, all right? That's just, what are you going to say? The sons of daughter come into the daughters of men, clearly through possession, take possession of other men and then, use that for sexual congress. Had the spiritual entities, which are humanity itself, not taken unto themselves material forms, and had the positive spiritual element not attached itself to the negative material aspect, the present world conflict, World War II, would not be taking place. So she's saying, if the Watcher angels didn't bang the daughters of men and create the Nephilim and everything that comes from that, these wars would not be going on. But the divine plan of evolution was based upon the production of this relationship between spiritually conscious man and the form aspect. And thus the great law of duality came into action, bringing about the fall of the angels as they descended from this sinless and free state of existence in order to develop full divine awareness upon earth through the medium of material incarnation and the use of the principle of mind. All right. So this is, again, they're martyrs. They're sinless angels. Not only are they sinless angels, but they're the most sinless angels, as we'll see very shortly. They're the purest. They're the best. They're the greatest things ever. They just do. It's like these stories that Judas was the most faithful apostle, and he played this part in order to fulfill this prophecy and so on. This is very, very similar in other mentions of this. She talks about the prodigal sons that we'll see in the next page. But so she's saying that they sacrificed themselves. They fell from their sinless and free state in order to develop full awareness upon earth. So by falling from their free state and coming to earth and inhabiting the bodies of men and so on, this is the divine plan, all right? And we'll see right here. This was the divine plan emanating from the mind of God and swept into activity and progressive unfoldment by an act of his will. At its inception, there took place the original war in the heavens where the sons of God who had responded to the divine urge to experience, to serve, and to sacrifice separated themselves from the sons of God who responded to no such inspiration, but who chose to stay in their original high state of being. All right, so the watcher angels, the ones who fell to earth, the fallen angels, the whatever you want to call them, they are the most faithful. They are the most loyal. They taking this for the team, right? The old expression. God called them to experience and to serve and to sacrifice and to separate themselves from those fuddy-duddies, the archangels, Michael and Uriel and all the rest of them, Gabriel and so on, who just, stuck around at home. They are the prodigal sons, right? And she uses this in a description of this whole divine plan, as it were. So this is the Watcher theology. The Watchers are the good guys. And here she's going one step further, and that they are not only they're the good guys, in some sort of antinomian Gnostic interpretations, God is the bad guy and all this kind of stuff, and they're trying to free man from his wrathful and oppressive reign. Here, the Watchers are actually following God's orders. God orders them to descend to earth so that mankind can be brought up, that mankind can be evolved into the state of angels. So this is a perfection. This is a real evolution of the whole idea of watcher adoration, and it literally could not be clearer. I mean, she's just saying it straight out. These are the good guys. They're obedient. This is what had to be done. Humanity had to be elevated, and so on. And they came to Earth and they taught mankind all these useful trades and so on. And then they created this race of hybrids and so on. And so they're the good guys, and the people who follow the Orthodox religions, or Judaism, Christianity, Islam, or whatever, they're on the wrong team. They picked the wrong team, and they're disobeying God. Even God said, ordered his angels, his most faithful, his best angels, Azazel and Semyaza and all the rest of them, to do this thing for him, to help elevate humanity through hybridization. All right. And of course, the great solar angel who embodies the real man, okay, and is his expression on the plane of the higher mind, which is literally his divine ancestor. The Watcher, I mean, she uses that term over and over again, who, through long cycles of incarnation, has poured himself out in sacrifice in order that man might be. So the great solar angel, the leader, so I guess this would be Semjaza, he sacrificed everything in order that man might be. So this is the true Christ, right? This is the one. And of course, she identifies him as the Christ, right? So we're seeing this over and over again in this information. And this, of course, ties with Blavatsky's Gnostic Lucifer. And this is just ancient Gnosticism straight up. And of course, it has to be like a young boy knowing who was involved in theosophy. In this case, it is, but natural, even from the dead letter standpoint. And then she's saying, dead letter standpoint is people who follow Orthodox religions, to view Satan, the serpent of Genesis, as the real creator and benefactor, the father of spiritual mankind. So she's saying, even if you follow, the Orthodox scriptures, you have to see Satan or the serpent of Genesis, or Draco, whomever, as the real creator and benefactor, the father of spiritual mankind. This is straight out of certain Gnostic sects who saw the serpent as Christ incarnate. For it is he who was the harbinger of light, bright radiant Lucifer, who opened the eyes of the automaton created by Jehovah, as alleged, and he was the first to whisper, "In the day ye eat thereof, ye shall be as Elohim, the divine counsel, knowing good and evil," can only be regarded in the light of a savior. All right. So again, this is, we see this in Satanism, but this goes back to ancient Gnosticism, right? That the serpent was the light bringer, Okay. Now, and one thing I just have to keep saying over and over again is that the term Lucifer was used in the early church as Christ, and we see that where Christ says, "I am the true morning star." Um, Lucifer is a light bringer. It's a title. It's not a name. So it would be like somebody, the Lucifer, right? The Lucifer, uh, the light bringer. Okay. It's not a name. It's not a figure. But of course, this Phanes, who we've talked about before, and who is identified with Mithraism, which we're going to look at very shortly. The Silent Watcher, greatest of the coming ones, the coming race. The planetary logos of our Earth scheme took physical incarnation, and under the form of Sanat Kumara, the Ancient of Days, and the Lord of the world, came down to this dense physical planet and has remained with us ever since. Owing to the extreme purity of his nature, he was unable to take a dense physical body such as ours and has to function in his etheric body. And, of course, takes possession of people to act as his avatars and his vessels and so on. He's the greatest of all avatars, or coming race, for he is a direct reflection of that great entity who lives and breathes and functions through the evolutions on this planet, holding all within his aura or magnetic sphere of influence. He is the silent watcher. Again, she uses watcher all the time, at least in the early books, as far as our immediate humanity is concerned, although literally the planetary logos himself on the higher plane of consciousness whereon he functions. So logos, Christ is the logos. This is an ancient pre-Christian. This is a Greek idea, the Greek idea of the logos. So I mean, this is one of the reasons why we see in the Bible, we see the Pharisees and the Sadducees just totally rejecting Jesus out of hand, rejecting his followers, and they were, in the context of Orthodox Judaism, they were right to. These ideas are Greek. I believe that Jesus was probably a Greek Jew from Alexandria. I don't think his name was ever Yeshua. I think his name was Jesus, but that's a whole other conversation that we'll get into later. Oh, yes. So electricity, right? Vril. This is it. This is the apotheosis of electricity, right? Mithras Phanes, Mithras Lucifer, with the lightning bolt. So Mithras Phanes is Mithras the Lucifer, Mithras the light bringer, Mithras Lord of Light. We see him atop the rock or the globe, the Orphic egg, whatever you want to see it as. The serpents of time have become electrical cables, right? Again, I talked about this statue. I used to see it every morning when I dropped my wife off at work. It was originally called the genius of electricity. So in other words, the spirit of electricity, the demon of electricity, right? The original terminology. So this is the Vril. This is the Vril Yah right there. So we see this being associated with Mithras and Mithras Phanes and all that kind of thing. And so a major proponent of Maitreya, and you've probably heard the name Maitreya or Maitreya. Lord Maitreya was Alice Bailey, who left the Theosophical Society in the 1920s to establish the Quasi-Theosophical Arcane School. In other words, British intelligence saw that Theosophists were kind of playing out this string, running aground, and put money into this woman to start this new organization, and they gave her a lot of money. Bailey expanded Ledbetter's work and his Christology and referred to Maitreya as the cosmic Christ, stating his second coming would occur sometime after the year 2025. I mean, so there would be, assumed that there would be an apocalyptic process, and that this Maitreya would reemerge in 2025. So it looks like we're right on schedule, doesn't it? So this is Alice Bailey from the Reappearance of the Christ, 1948. The world teacher is that great being whom the Christian calls the Christ. He is known in the Orient as the Bodhisattva and as the Lord Maitreya, and in Islam, the Aman Mahdi. He is the world teacher, the master of the masters, and the instructor of the angels, and to him is committed the guidance of the spiritual destinies of men and the development of the realization within each human being that he is a child of God and a son of the Most High. So this is the silent watcher, the sacrificial one, the great one, the angel of the pit, who took one for the team and emerged, escaped, there is a passage in one of her writings about how the Watchers escape from their prison in the pit and everything. We won't go into that. It's not really important. You know, she's talking about how he escapes here and, you know, becomes the world savior. So Maitreya, who is Maitreya? What do we know Maitreya as? Ah, we know him as Mithras. Of course we do. Maitreya is sometimes considered to have been influenced by the Zoroastrian Mithra. So that would be in the Buddhist understanding. There's no question in this sort of Alice Bailey, New Age, Masonic, cult, esoteric, whatever you want to put it, that Maitreya is Mithras, right? And we see Mithras in a very common ancient tableau here, bringing fire, emerging, being born from the rock, escaping the zodiac, escaping the prison of time, uh, you know, evolving into the god of infinite time. That's not Prometheus at all. It has nothing to do with Prometheus unless you associate Prometheus with Mithras. That is Mithras. That position that he's in roughly follows the constellation of Perseus. Perseus, again, Zoroastrian, Persian, Mithra, Persian, right? Anyhow, so some Zoroastrian ideas seem to have influenced the cult of Maitreya, such as expectations of a heavenly keeper, the need to opt for positive righteousness, the future millennium, and universal salvation. So, you know, that's Mithra. These are ideas where Mithra informs Maitreya, and of course, that informs Mithras, and then you know, whoever we see here, the silent watcher, right? The coming one. It was among the Parthian Manichaeans that Mithra as a sun god surpassed the importance of Narsoph as a common Iranian image of the third messenger, messenger of the new millennium. Among the Parthians, the dominance of Mithra was such that his identification with the third messenger led to cultic emphasis on the Mithraic traits in the Manichaean god. All right, so Manichaeism, that's a whole other conversation there. You know, something that we can get into at some other point, but there we go. So Alice Bailey, yeah. So, you know, I went to one of these great convocations, and it was, you've probably heard me say, it was the most excruciatingly boring thing that I've ever attended in my life. It was literally old ladies in tennis shoes knitting. I was like, what is going on here? Why do these people have so much money and influence and so on? I believe that the Lucis Trust is a placeholder. Okay, I believe that it was set up for the future. I don't believe that its present incarnation is what it's going to evolve into. I believe that it was set up to start to create an infrastructure for the Watcher cult, Watcher religion, worldwide Watcher religion, the coming ones, the coming race, and so on. So we see that their headquarters is at United Nations Plaza, of course. Yes, New York, New York. In London, it's in Whitehall, in the city of Westminster, right? That's what I'm saying. It's British intelligence, and I'll show you exactly why I believe that. And of course, it's in Geneva. So this is New York, London, and Geneva, the three largest, financial capitals in the world. Yeah, very expensive. It's like how the process church was set up in Mayfair. It's all the same thing. These are all intelligence operations, all right? But they're more than that. As we'll see, they're more than that. It isn't just some sort of psyop. This is, they're building an infrastructure for the future. And in the same way that Constantine began to, with the Edict of Milan and so on, right? So this is going to eventually result in the Watcher cult, which I hope we have the choice to opt out of, let's just say. So there. What are you going to say? The London headquarters of the Lucis Trust, across the street from the Ministry of Defense. Do I need to say anything else? No, I don't. So I guess they have an office at the UN, but this is where their offices are located. This is a Silverstein property. This is 120 Wall Street, which is in the shape of a ziggurat. Yes, ziggurat. Babylonian ziggurat. Yes, that's where Lucis Trust, quite appropriately, is located. All right, so right across the street from the Ministry of Defense, 120 Wall Street, and there's all sorts of these NGOs, all these kinds of nefarious organizations that are rebuilding the world step by step in classic Fabian fashion, right? The new group of world servers, so this is from their website. I guess it was taken down, but so we see these financial groups that sponsor them, and you wonder, like, why? Why do they care about this little bunch of little old ladies in tennis shoes? I don't know, but a lot of fairly influential organizations do, including the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Yes, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is one of the sponsors of the Lucis Trust. Do you know a single person that belongs to the Lucis Trust? I do not. And also, Microsoft, if you just do a search on Lucis Trust, Microsoft donates money to them with Microsoft Rewards Program. So just go to Bing and look up Lucis Trust, and that same page will come up for you. So obviously, Bill Gates, Baal Gates of Hell, very interested in this organization, so run the other direction.